Jenny and Mark had been looking forward to their anniversary trip for months. They'd found a secluded cabin on AirBnB, nestled deep within the woods of Mountain View. The listing promised tranquility and stunning views of the surrounding forest. The reviews were positive, mentioning the peacefulness and the beauty of the area. After a long drive, they finally arrived at the cabin. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the forest. The cabin looked cozy, just as it had in the pictures, with a rustic charm that made it feel like a true escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. They unpacked their bags and settled in, lighting a fire in the fireplace and preparing a simple dinner. The cabin was well stocked with amenities, and they found a book of local legends and folklore on a shelf in the living room. Intrigued, they decided to read a few stories after dinner. As they sat by the fire, the wind howled outside, making the cabin creak and groan. They read about the legend of the Mountain View Woods, which spoke of shadowy figures that haunted the area. According to the book, these shadows were spirits of those who had vanished in the forest, unable to find peace. Jenny and Mark chuckled at the eerie tales, brushing them off as mere superstition. That night they went to bed feeling content. The cabin was silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves outside. But as the clock struck midnight, Jenny awoke to a strange noise, a soft whispering that seemed to come from all around them. She nudged Mark awake, and they both listened. The whispers were faint but unmistakable. They sounded like a chorus of voices murmuring just beyond the walls. Mark tried to reassure Jenny, suggesting it was just the wind playing tricks on them, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Unable to sleep, they decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight, they stepped outside into the chilly night. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sound the crunching of leaves under their feet. The whispers seemed to follow them, growing louder as they ventured deeper into the woods. Mark shone the flashlight around, revealing nothing but trees and shadows. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw something move. He turned quickly, catching a glimpse of a shadowy figure slipping between the trees. Jenny saw it too, her heart pounding in her chest. They called out, but there was no response. Just more whispers, now sounding almost desperate. They decided to head back to the cabin, but the way back seemed longer and more confusing than before. Every tree looked the same, and the path they thought they had taken seemed to disappear. Panic set in as they realized they were lost. The whispers surrounded them, growing louder and more frantic. The shadowy figures appeared again, more of them this time, moving closer. Mark tried to lead Jenny through the forest, but the shadows seemed to block their way, herding them deeper into the woods. In their frantic attempts to escape, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned campsite. The remnants of a tent and a fire pit suggested it had been used not too long ago. Among the debris, they found a journal. The entries were disturbing, detailing the experiences of a previous visitor to the cabin. The writer described hearing whispers and seeing shadows, just as Jenny and Mark had. The last entry ended abruptly. "They're coming for me. I don't think I'll make it." A cold dread washed over them as they realized they weren't the first to encounter the shadows. The whispers grew deafening, and the shadows closed in. Desperate to escape, they ran blindly through the forest, tripping over roots and branches. Finally, they saw the cabin's lights in the distance and sprinted towards it. They burst inside, slamming the door shut behind them. The whispers stopped, and the cabin fell silent. They huddled together, too scared to sleep, waiting for the dawn. When morning came, they wasted no time packing their things and leaving the cabin. As they drove away, the forest seemed to watch them, the shadows lingering just out of sight. They never spoke of what happened that night. The Mountain View cabin remained listed on AirBnB, a seemingly perfect getaway for those seeking peace and quiet. But the whispers and shadows were always there, waiting for the next guests to arrive.